The NFL has some of the most gifted athletes in the entire world, so it's no surprise that in college, several of them played more than just football. And in this video, I'll be going over 6 different athletes who all played college basketball and still made the NFL. This list is in no particular order, and be sure to watch the whole video because the stories only get better. The first name we're going to talk about is Hall of Fame tight end Tony Gonzalez.
I'm Tony Gonzalez, University of California.
Who, if you didn't know, played 3 years of football and basketball at the University of California, Berkeley. He was mostly a bench player throughout his career, but definitely had some very big moments. He averaged 17 minutes a game along with 6.4 points and 4.3 rebounds for his entire career. At 6'6", Tony's athleticism transitioned really well onto the basketball court. But the best moment of his career was in the March Madness tournament during his senior season. He helped California Berkeley lead to tournament wins over Princeton in the first round and Villanova in the second round. He had 13 points and 5 rebounds in the first game against Princeton, and somehow did it again in the very next game against Villanova, where he scored a team-high 23 points and had 4 rebounds. They ended up losing the next game against North Carolina, but the fact that they even got there is unreal. But what's more unreal is how he went on to get drafted with the 13th pick in the 1997 draft and became one of the greatest tight ends of all time. The next name on this list is another NFL Hall of Famer in Terrell Owens. He didn't have as much of an impact as Tony, but definitely still made an impact. While at the University of Chattanooga, Terrell Owens played not just football, but also played basketball and ran track. This man was built different. His stats on the football field were good enough to get him drafted, even though his team had a losing season every year. But on the basketball court, things were a little different. In his junior and senior year, he was only playing 7 minutes a game and averaging 2 points. But he was one of very few NFL players to have played in a March Madness tournament. On top of all that, he anchored in the 4x100 relay at the NCAA championship. All of that combined is what got him drafted to the 49ers in the 4th round. And he would go on to have, let's just say, a very successful NFL career. The next player on this list has by far one of the most unbelievable stories. During high school, Antonio Gates was a standout player on both the football field and the basketball court. His plan was to go to Michigan State University, where he could play football under Coach Nick Saban and also basketball under Coach Tom Izzo. He would be playing basketball and football under some of the greatest coaches throughout the exact same year. But Nick Saban told him he's all in or all out, and that if he wanted to play for him, he would have to completely give up on basketball. Gates, however, was not ready to do that. He said forget Michigan State and went to Eastern Michigan to play just basketball. If he couldn't have both, then he didn't want either. You kinda have to respect that. He went on to have a good freshman year, averaging 10 points and 7 rebounds a game. He was actually playing so good that the following season he transferred to Kent State. But this was also before the transfer portal was cool, so Gates had to sit out an entire year. When he got back though, he picked up right where he left off, averaging 16 points and 8 rebounds a game while starting in all 36. They went on to finish the season with a 24-5 record while winning the first MAC championship in school history. He even had multiple big games throughout the March Madness tournament and helped lead them to an Elite 8 finish. They were underdogs for multiple games and still somehow made it, with their best player being a future NFL player. His senior year was basically the same. He averaged 21 points and 8 rebounds while finishing his college basketball career at Kent State with a record of 54-16. His number 44 jersey would be retired by the school, and despite not playing any college football, he was invited to work out for multiple NFL teams. He finished his first workout with the Chargers, and they immediately signed him as a free agent. He would go on to spend 16 years with the Chargers while becoming an NFL legend. There aren't many sports come-up stories crazier than Antonio Gates. But then comes Julius Peppers, who is yet another absolutely freak athlete. He played both football and basketball at the University of North Carolina. Yeah, he was good enough to play both sports at North Carolina. That should show you how crazy athletic he was alone. He joined the basketball team as a walk-on, but played even more than he thought he would. Julius played in 31 games his freshman season while averaging 5 points and 4 rebounds. His role was to be a bruiser, just like he was on the football field. His sophomore year though, he averaged 7 points per game in just 17 minutes. and even had a huge performance during March Madness just like Tony Gonzalez. He had 12 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 steals against Princeton in the first round and had an even better game in the second. Against Penn State, Julius Peppers had 21 points and 10 rebounds, yet still lost in the final minutes. You have to remember, he's playing against the best basketball players in the entire country. Former great UNC coach Roy Williams, who was with Kansas at the time, said he was surprised that North Carolina offered him a scholarship. But when he found out that the scholarship was for football instead of basketball, his mind was blown. He said Julius was good for a basketball player, but great for a football player. However, he stopped playing basketball to focus on his junior season of football because that's where he was one of the best in the country. He became the second pick in the draft the very next season and had a very successful NFL career. Next on the list is Jimmy Graham, who went to the University of Miami after receiving a scholarship to play basketball. Over the next few years, he would stay as a rotational piece coming off the bench. He started in 40 of the 120 games he played throughout his career, but only averaged 4 points and 4 rebounds a game. Like many of the other players on this list, he was mainly used as a defensive type of player, someone that's gonna hustle and do football player things on the basketball court. Jimmy Graham is also 6'8", so that helps a lot. Although he only averaged 5 points a game, he shot the ball extremely well. He also played in basically every game for 4 years straight. The most interesting part of the story is the fact that he didn't even start playing football until he stayed for a year of post-grad. He went on to have a really good season, especially for someone that hasn't played football since high school and was drafted in the 3rd round of the New Orleans Saints. He had a few very successful seasons and is even playing in the league to this day, playing for the exact same team. But the final player I'm going to talk about in this video is Darren Fells, who had one of the craziest paths to the NBA on this list. Darren Fells not only played 4 years of college basketball, but he even played professional basketball overseas before going to the NFL. He had a solid career at UC Irvine where he averaged over 10 points and 6 rebounds a game. He played in almost every single game since his freshman year, and by the time he was a senior, he was the team's 2nd leading scorer. From there, he would go on to play professionally for the next 4 years in places like Argentina, Mexico, Belgium, Finland, and France. He played all over and averaged about 10 points and 7 rebounds basically everywhere he went. Nothing crazy, but definitely respectable, especially at the professional level. But at 6'7", 250 pounds, there was another sport calling his name. He tried out for a few different NFL teams before finding a home with the Cardinals in 2014. Some athletes spend their entire lives working to get to the NFL, but Darren played an entirely different sport yet made it to the league. So whatever you're doing in life, just know it's never too late to try out for the NFL. A lot of the guys I mentioned actually put together some solid basketball resumes, all while it being their 2nd sport. There are definitely some other names I could have mentioned, but then this video would have been way too long. Let me know down in the comments who you think had the craziest path to the NFL, and leave a like on the video to support the channel. Also subscribe if you're new for more basketball videos just like this one.